inspired action. How do you rise to the call of transformation? Vagrein will help us. Okay, so we're aware that it's a little cool in here.
Thank you.
And everybody who works at the hotel knows that we are aware of this. We're doing everything we possibly can to improve the situation. But, you know, that's the good news, right? Woo! It's freezing! Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I will turn it over to you. And any words before you disappear into trance? And incidentally, Jesse doesn't generally know what happens. When you're all standing and dancing, and clothes start flying, she doesn't have a clue.
You missed out.
She comes back.
It was a party.
She sees we're still here. That's all she knows. But we're happy, very happy. Thank you so much, Jesse. It's really fantastic to know.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the last session or the one before, but they were talking about some of you, I think, had asked if what happens to them when they're not being channeled.
Yeah.
And they were talking about non-existence, right?
Yeah.
And that's very similar to what I experience when I'm channeling. So, you know, it's, again, I think they used, someone mentioned they used the analogy of like they're not off playing poker or something, or thinking about something else, but it's very similar. So that was my process when they were transmitting that. That's what I was thinking about. I was thinking, oh, yeah, non-existence, another thing.
So you weren't even, so there's nothing to miss, nothing to fear.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't exist.
Yeah, you just don't exist. No big deal.
But, you know, I wrote in one of my books, because that can be a bit disturbing, and it's a known fear, the fear of annihilation. Like, so what happens? You know, best case, I dissolve back into God. I'm still gone. That's not really comforting. But and I said, you know, with time, sometimes I get these hits. With time not being what we think it is, moreover, there's an eternal now. It's whatever existed in any moment exists forever. So we do exist forever in that sense. And moreover, when we blend back into God, you know, do we disappear? We're in God right now, and we didn't disappear. Nothing's going to change. So it's words that slip when we try to approximate the truth. And sometimes the slippage feels like it's off a cliff, but there is no cliff. It's all good. We're all eternal. We will be conscious and sentient, and our egoic self as much as our spiritual self for forever and ever and ever. Particularly, you know,
Forever.
if that's what you want. And I think, well, even if you didn't, you're still going to be forever. But, okay. Forgive me. Okay, so.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So the thing I like about Vagrein's teachings that has been consistent from the beginning is that they do actually give, at times, practical things to do, things that we can play with and experiment with. They're very big on experimentation, the bravery and courage of experimentation. So taking baby steps towards the next thing, as opposed to thinking you have to dive right in, because that thinking often can be what paralyzes you. So hopefully they'll have some tips and tricks in this one, and how to really embody this, whatever they've shared just now. We'll find out.
And taking
Okay, awesome. Oh yeah, I saw the room service guy. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's
so
do
I will
it.
see you guys a little later. is only in your perception that the body is separate from what you would call the soul, or the energy that motors it. And it is often inverse in that you think that it is your role or job to put the soul into the body, embodiment. Whereas, in reality, the body, or your physical vessel, is housed within the entirety of your non-physical beingness and created through it. That said, there is still the desire to be in physical reality, or you would not have a body in the first place. There were many, and even in the timeline you are currently experiencing, moments in which you were aware of physical time as the way that you see it now from your human perspective, when you did not have a body. Before, when you were planning out this life, you had individuation before the body, and to this conversation about the eternity of existence, there is and can be the choice to continue individuation without the body. But to speak to this now experience, to speak to this now, how do I carry into my day-to-day experience or life this energy of the change, of the deciding to be me, and bring it to the physical reality in which I do have bills to pay, I do have physical ailments, I do have situations and circumstances that are very material in their manifestation, and simultaneously recognize and recall that I am ultimately a non-physical creature, a non-physical isness that has created all of this around myself. This would be done in, yes, we do offer practical terms, many different ways. It is done every time you take care of that body of yours. It has been done in this just now moment when you did fuel yourself or feed yourself or give yourself pleasure through your eating mechanism. It is in those moments when you make contact with other cells. It is in those moments in which you do feel the sun on your skin, etc. But to begin to harness your ability to be yourself in your day-to-day life, what one must recognize or realize is that the seeming restrictions of having a body can be challenged and can be, shall we say, hacked in order for you to be able to follow what is needed for you to take best advantage of your energy, to take best advantage of your state of being, to warm yourself up to each day with the best possible frequency and vibration, so as to make it easy for yourself to not have to think so much about the day-to-day maintenance of your day-to-day life, and therefore have the ability to be more in a state where you can say, what does my heart want from me in this now? The first practical step truly is to figure out what works for you in terms of the simple maintenance of the body, the fuels, and the care and the upkeep of your physical vessel. We would say that your health is one of those themes that does have much impact and influence as to how much you are able to embody your gifts or your mission or your path. If you are in a space where you are not in deep belief that your body is a fundamental aspect of your spiritual journey, then you will not have as much access to your gifts, your spiritual gifts, as you would do otherwise. There is nothing that is not spiritual about your physical vessel. This includes all of your impulses, your hunger, your desire, your passion. It includes all of your needs, your energy levels, your proximity to beings that perhaps do not raise your vibration in that now moment. It does have to do with your consuming of data or of materials that perhaps are not in service to you. And this does tie in with the conversations we had earlier, because much of the conversations that we had earlier were based upon the assumption that you are subject to the things around you. Often you have heard about boundaries. And this is one of those skills. The ability to say no, not in resistance, but out of wisdom to what does not serve you, is one of the greatest, most practical skills that you can use that will directly impact and benefit your life from this day forward. So, when your body, when your mind, when your heart are whispering to you that something does not feel right, one of your responsibilities is to find the way, and you will have to at times dig through some emotion that will come up around it, to say no to those things. Up until such point as you build up a tolerance to them, to the point where they are not impacting you. So we are not saying to cut out all of those negative influences in your life in terms of people, or develop paranoia about what you are consuming in terms of food or pharmaceuticals or any other aspect that you could have come into your field. But what we are saying is that if you start from today, from a space of, I am going to go on an elimination diet of all the things that I suspect are not serving me, for a period, you can then begin to experiment with which things you can slowly reintroduce into your field. So the first practical step for embodying your spiritual nature and having that wherewithal to stand solid in the changes that you are witnessing around you is to make that a priority. To allow yourself to say, I am starting from scratch. You have never done this. Because when you were a child and you did come into this planet as a blank slate, you did not have those opportunities to make choices. So now you can take today as the day that you say, I am going to see what happens if I do not continue to live through the patterns that I've been living through up until now. I am going to see what happens if I don't watch those TV shows. I am going to see what happens if I really do say, no, by the way, the snacks, do not force you to eat them. It is you, no matter what sort of level of habit that you have chosen, that continues to ingest the things that perhaps you already know are not serving you. So we would counsel towards a slight period of detoxification, but that word in and of itself implies negative connotation. So you can think of it that way, but it is not exactly that. It is more of an enlightening of your day-to-day experience through what feels good to me and what does not. When you are washing your hands, how often do you notice the temperature of the water? And when you do know it is slightly too cold or too hot, do you actually make the adjustments to give yourself the pleasure that you would have at the correct temperature for you in that now moment? No, we know you do not, because you are rushing off to the next thing. In fact, perhaps you have not even registered the fact that you could change the temperature on the bell. And yes, we do know that that is a situation in this room as well. So, if you would take on this particular piece of advice, and we would say, by the way, that often you are hearing things that you know to be true for you, and for some reason, you have decided not to adhere to them. What we would say to you in this now moment, if you do not find yourself making these adjustments, there's no problem. But at least notice that you are not making these adjustments and ask yourself why. Do you deserve the water at the correct temperature for your body? The answer is often, I don't think I do. It takes that nanosecond too much, and also I have to rush off to this other thing, and also I have this other thought that is more pressing, etc., etc. In the meantime, you are living your life from a space of what is not correct for you. And you are doing this consistently and then wondering, why is it I feel stuck? Why is it I am not accessing my gifts? Why is it I come to the end of the day exhausted? Because you have been exhausting yourself. You have not been allowing yourself to have the pleasure of being alive. There is a deep amount of pleasure here. Yes, the suffering does catch your attention faster. That is correct, because you are in physical vessels. You do have physical vessels, and you are cleverly, through your brain, predisposed to look for the danger so as not to miss it if it were to come along. And in doing so, you have become habituated to have a bias towards what is negative. Change your bias. Change your bias to look for what is positive. You are standing in the shade, the sun is more pleasant, you do not move the 16 centimeters over to the right so as to stand in the sun for the 3 minutes that you need to be waiting for that bus. Ask yourself, why that to myself? Why don't I move over the 16 centimeters? Why doesn't it even come into my mind to seek out that pleasure and engagement with my physical vessel as if my physical vessel merited pleasure? You are not your bodies.
Come on now.
Therefore, in your disregard for them, you are communicating to the universe that you are not in a space where you would like this particular physical body to continue. Perhaps that sounds like a threat. It is. Because your body is not stupid, nor is the universe. And if you are saying no consistently to anything in the universe, sooner or later it will agree with you. Take some time to understand what brings you pleasure, and this will allow you to then have the strength and fortitude and well-being, of course, that will allow you that when something does come up in your life, you know all you have to do is move 16 centimeters so as to stand in the sun as well. We are not sure. The vessel is telling us that perhaps you do not have centimeters in this place.
We know what you mean.
And so, what we would suggest for that first step to be embodied is actually be embodied. Make peace with your physical vessel. It is not yours. Therefore, if you are in any way critical in this now moment of your health, of your physical presentation, of your age, of your gender, of your whatever it might be, you are already in violation of the natural order of all that is. You look exactly as you do because you are meant to look exactly as you do. You feel physically exactly as you do because there is wisdom in that, and you are meant to feel that way. The only thing that you are not meant to or not meant to do, not meant to do, is have the judgment of it.
Come on.
So this would be your first step. Now, you move a little bit further out. You've now mastered being at peace with your physical vessel, understanding it is a wonderful miracle, that it is constantly regenerating itself, that it was created from cells splitting in the most epic and cosmic way that could possibly ever be envisioned. And you see, well, there are certain things in my life that are not quite exactly as I would have them be. We are calling you out now. That relationship. How can you expect to be able to be in a state of joy, to be in a state of profound enjoyment of life, when you have set up a rule for yourself that you have to continue that relationship? You cannot. There's nothing that is holding you to a contract that is already expired. What you can do is look at each area of your life, whether it be relationship, or it be your finances, or it be your career, or be the destination in which you find yourself, and begin to, again, gently, slowly, with experimentation, get those things out of your system. Your life really is yours to craft and create. We understand that there are logistics, we understand there are circumstances, we understand that there is any matter of things that are impeding you or seeming to in getting what you are wanting, but you do have linear time. And if you can think back 10 years from now, you were not living exactly the same life. The choices that you made by accident were nevertheless choices. And so, one small choice after another leads you onto that timeline we spoke of before, in which you did punch that person in the face, or did not. And in choosing now your steps, choosing your destination, choosing your direction with intention, you are entirely capable of arriving at any level of life that you would like to arrive to. Whenever we hear people say that they cannot do this, that, or other because they do not have the money, or they do not have the time, or they do not have the this, or they do not have the that, we are in a space of saying that this is all excuses. It is not that you do not have what you need to get to where you are going. It is that you are not interested in going there. You are not taking those small steps in that direction. So it is not a surprise that your continued action of stagnancy is not bringing you to where it is you were wanting to go. So embodying means being in your life. It means looking at your life as if it is that spiritual cosmic experience that it entirely is. There is nothing that can or would keep you in any situation or circumstance that you are not preferring except for yourselves. We know that this does bring up all manner of thoughts, things that need adjusting or fixing, things that are not to your satisfaction, and things that you know that would require effort, or what seems to be effort, at least challenge to work through. But this is also part of the work of this change of the world, because this is where you have your direct power. In each now moment, you can choose, do I respond to that message or not? Do I interact in this way or not? Do I choose this particular thing that I eat that I know always makes me feel uncomfortable or not? And you do often choose incorrectly, but that is still simply information for you. So when the changes come, as the changes come, you can simultaneously be experimenting with your own enlightenment, with your own elevation, with your own bringing up and into the life that you are choosing to have, as opposed to the one that is happening to you. It is active work. It is a commitment. It is a choice to begin to get your ducks in a row. And as you do, you will find that you begin to like yourself better. We often teach on self-love, but this is one of the ways to be loving of oneself. It is to say, what I care about matters. It is to say, the things I want matter. We will speak briefly on desire, and how desire is not yours. Nobody wakes up in their consciousness and says, you know what, today I'm going to decide that I want this thing. Your wants come to you from seemingly nowhere. They are wind. And it is for you to cast that sail, to catch it, and to allow it to blow you, yes, while paying attention to the boat, in the direction of whatever it is blowing you towards. If you do not desire, for example, abundance, you will not head towards it. So your desire for abundance is energy in motion heading towards your abundance, if you would just catch the wind. These practical aspects are great in day-to-day experience. They have been since the dawn of humanity, and it has been, yes, follow your joy, follow your excitement, get yourself in alignment with it, and then you will have a wonderful life that belongs to you. In the context of the changes you are going through, we have to say it is no longer optional. You are now in a position where your only choice is to figure out how to feel good. And in that being your only choice, we know it sounds dire. This is what we warned you about at the beginning of the day. The good news is that if that becomes your main goal, it is achievable. And on top of that, no matter what comes thereafter, you have mastered the entire game. More practical tools would be taking that quiet time with self. We will, in some time with you, offer a meditation. Meditation is that way that you give yourself the excuse to stay by your own side for some time. There's actually nothing even to do in meditation. Even if your mind does begin to chatter, even if your energy does become uncomfortable, the work is being done for you, through you. So any form of sitting in meditation is of value. We do not ever counsel to make it a daily practice, only because if that then becomes a chore, it is no longer enjoyable. Find a way to enjoy the time that you spend with yourself, and if that fails, then take up a hobby. It is not often spoken of that that is spiritual practice as well. Anything that lights you up is going to be a benefit to you as much as meditation could if that lit you up. Then there are also those aspects of practical tools in terms of things such as breath work. We have spoken about how the breath is truly the motor that, and you do know this because this is not so foreign to you on a scientific level either, but it does keep you alive because it does consistently connect the physical with the non-physical. So in consciously breathing, which is the only organ that you do get to control in terms of your lungs, you are in a space where you become a creative collaborator with both the physical and non-physical aspects of you. So that can be a very wonderful experience. It can be a tool towards what you would call your enlightenment. It can be something that does bring much pleasure both to the body and healing, as well as your mind calming down, your soul being more integrated. So we would say that that is another one of those tools that will help you through the change. If you learn how to breathe, you then have all this ability, even in physical stress and strain, to calm your nervous system, to bring yourself back to a state of correct functionality. So these are not new. This is why we do not often speak of these types of things, because you do know them already, but why are you not doing them? You are such a stubborn bunch. You see, you walk around pretending you do not know things and asking for advice, asking for tips and tricks to something you do not even want. How can I get to be calm and peaceful? How can I get to happiness? How can I get to be the greatest version of myself? This is the question, is it not often? And so then you say that, and so many of you have answers to this. People tell you what to do. Say, do this, do that. They are correct. These are all correct pieces of information. And then you don't do it. We know why you don't do it. You love the drama. Oh. You really do. We are not criticizing. It is entertaining. It is fun to watch. You never know what's going to happen next. Someone could call you on the telephone and tell you that that project that you were working on together has some glitch or is not going to your satisfaction, and then you get to spend the whole day upset about it. What joy! You get to miss your nephew's birthday party because you are in a bad mood. You get to fight with your spouse because no one understands you, or because you have some childhood traumas, whatever it might be. But you have such a lovely story to live that day, do you not? Mm-hmm. Could you imagine the alternative, where the person called you and said the same exact thing and it was not bothering to you? What would you do for the rest of the day? You'd have to find something to do with all that energy that you're going to expend with the drama. It requests creativity of you. You see, the closer you get to what is considered enlightenment, the more energy you have. The more energy you have, the more energy you have a desire to expend. The more energy you have a desire to expend, the more creative you have to be in finding ways to extend it. Humans are extremely creative, which is why they create so many problems for themselves. It is a way to get rid of all of that excess energy, because otherwise you would have insomnia. You would be up, caffeine-free, all night, because you had not fulfilled the day's purpose. So, as you become calmer, as you have more peace, as you begin to integrate yourself in yourself, as you begin to embody yourself, suddenly you have to listen more to your inspirations. Suddenly you have to get more creative about solving those world problems. Suddenly you have to get into a space where you are that creative component of existence, as opposed to being thrown around by existence. And if you are not being thrown around by existence and you are autonomous, which you are, then it falls on you. Now, here's the kicker. You you don't think you're worthy of that power. When you find out that you have an entire day of peace and joy ahead of you, and that will stimulate you to doing grand and amazing things with your life, or facing challenges you never thought you could face, or being in the starring role of your show, fear comes up. Am I worthy of this? Am I capable of using this energy in the correct ways? Am I capable of this grand project inspiration that just came into my mind? And many of you would prefer to be in lower states of vibration and not have that question than you would to rise to your own self. So you are capable. Also, there's nothing to fear because there's no way to fail. As your inspiration comes to you to write that book, to start that business, to embark in that romance, to change that situation or circumstance, you will find that that will bring up new levels of challenge for you, that you then, again and again and again, jump over those hurdles. And pretty soon, again, you're going to find that you like yourself quite a lot. You say, look at this miraculous being, this creature, this life, this body, yes, this character in this story that's actually doing a pretty good job. That's actually come through a lot of storms. That's actually created a lot of really beautiful things. That's actually living a life that has value, that is special. Because each and every one of you are. So, back to, you don't have an option. The alternative is not quite nice. But you have been living the alternative, have you not? You've been living in situations and circumstances where there is a lot of pain. There is a lot of suffering. There is a lot of what will tomorrow bring and fear. The choice and decision, ultimately, is being asked of you. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be busy? Because they do not go hand in hand.
Come on now.
Your happiness or your joy or your bliss feels effortless. It does not feel linear. It's outside of time and space. It does not feel in your control. So there's that aspect to let go of. But it does feel like home. And it is a beautiful way to live your life. So we are not here to convince you. We are here again. The only practical tools really are to come to a space of being in joy no matter what occurs. Unconditional love. If you love your life unconditionally, then you have nothing to worry about. No matter what is thrown at you. You do know this is the case as well because you have seen examples of it. You have been given examples in your history of people who do live this way. And as you look at them, it can be triggering as well. You say they have their head in the sand, or they are not paying attention to what's going on, or they are lacking of compassion. These projections on these beings who have decided to be joyful no matter what are simply your way of working through the things, the ways that you believe yourself to be judged. But the truth remains that these people, it's not that they are unaware of the suffering. It is not that they're unaware of what is occurring in the world. It is that they are so aware of it and so brave in the face of it that they have chosen that their contribution in that frequency state is more important than the being perceived of as compassionate or being perceived of as empathetic. They've chosen to understand that they are a resource to existence only when their vibration is higher, only when they are taking care of themselves first, only when they are aligning everything in their life with the life that they are wanting to live. And then from that space, they can indeed be a resource. This is why you've even noticed they exist. They've put themselves in a position where now they can be a lighthouse, and not just a light bulb.
May I?
Yes?
We'll go to questions and answers real soon. But speaking of the embodiment and your most recent suggestion, for some people there's a crossroads to be busy or to be happy. I think I am personally torn in that direction, and I think it's almost identical to the person who wants to, who might veer into harmful behavior, overeating, undereating, drinking, smoking cigarettes, or me being too busy. I think we would all say, at least theoretically, that we really truly believe we each want to be happy. But there are underlying beliefs, very likely, of maybe inadequacy or vulnerability or having to prove ourselves or having to earn something. There's these invisible rules that we make up vis-a-vis our beliefs, our upbringing, abuse, or whatever it may be, and so we are perhaps at a loss as to understanding why we might continue to abuse ourselves or overwork when there's so much to be happy about. But I think if I work more and do more, then I'll really be happy. I know that that is not the answer, and it's the same with these other patterns of abuse. You suggested, and I think maybe this is the answer, ask why. Ask why can't I do that? Why can't I be happy? Why would I overindulge if it's perhaps harmful at some level? But sometimes the answer that we're looking for through those questions is elusive or completely invisible. So how might we better be honest with ourselves, discern the truth, unravel the lies or limiting beliefs, so that we can get on with what we really care about, which is truly being happy, without all the baggage? Is it just asking questions? Is there a suggestion, a technique?
Yes, so if you can imagine a large piece of wood and someone coming to hit you over the head with it, we will suggest a technique that can feel to many of you similar to that. When you have identified that thing that you are doing, that might be the thing that is a pattern or a habit or something that there might be some programming underneath of it, our suggestion would be to stop doing it. Now, not simply but I can't stop doing it. We understand. Stop doing it for an hour. Stop doing it for 2 hours. Stop doing it for 3 hours. And then, when the little tickle of I want to go do that thing now comes up, stop everything entirely. Go and meditate in that moment. When the discomfort, because you're jonesing for the thing that is normally created for your comfort, or for your overworking, or whatever it is, comes to you, is when your wisdom is beginning to talk to you. Yes, cold turkey. Because in that space of the stopping to doing the thing, what you are doing is simultaneously inviting the discomfort of the reason why you were doing it in the first place to make itself known. In the making of itself known and staying with it, you are getting all of the information that you have not been wanting to hear in the first place. So if you're overworking, for example, comes from a space of not feeling worthy or not feeling valid if you are not working, or if you are not providing for your family, or if you are not being productive in your society, etc. What will happen when you stop working, which is the reason why you don't, is that you will be told very clearly by your body, by your mind, by your heart, that this is very dangerous to do. In you getting that information and that discomfort and saying, I'm going to stay with this discomfort and figure it out, what will happen is you will no longer be running from that emotion or that information. you will suddenly have the ability to hear it more clearly because you are so uncomfortable. Now, we do not say people should not have their vices. In fact, as we say often, everything serves until it does not. But if you have identified that drinking or overeating or smoking or overworking is no longer serving you, and again, everything does up until a point. It is provided to you for that service.
Yes.
But if you'll come to the point where you say, you know what, I would like to change this thing. It is time for me to change this thing because I've now seen that the benefits of how it was serving me are not outweighed by the detriments of it to my health or the detriments of it to my relationships or the detriments of it to my joy. Then through that, you will get that clarity of where that is coming from in the first place. Now, some of you will sit with that for a little bit and then trickle back and do the thing again. Do not beat yourself up at that point. Any amount of this work is valuable. All you have to do is comfort yourself, maybe through that overworking or through that drink or whatever it might be, up until such point as you gather up enough will, you gather up enough desire, again, to listen to those informations a little bit more. It is a process that we say you can't take baby steps to. There are others of you who will get into that space of, I am not going to work for the next 3 weeks. 3 weeks is a lot, is it not?
Yes.
And so, what you would do is week 1, you would be uncomfortable. In week 2, you would be uncomfortable. In week 3, you might have that breakthrough. And because you've had that breakthrough, now when you return to work, it is not out of running away from something, but actually because you have a true passion for whatever it is you are now providing. Or now when you return to that drink, it is not because you are trying to drown your sorrows, but because you genuinely enjoy the aspects of it that it does bring you. Now, we're not saying that there aren't substances in your experience that are indeed what are considered addictive and should be avoided at all costs for certain of you. But what we are saying is if you decide to undertake this experiment with oneself, you do get answers very clearly. But in the case that you are outlining, it is only through the discomfort that you will come to that resolution. You will never work enough to get away from that demon.
Ooh, yes.
Wow. Woohoo! Really incredibly profound. Well, we will segue to questions and answers from the audience right now. Is that good for you, Vagrein?
Yes.
All right, so we have into the schedule the next 40 minutes to answer your questions. Vagrein will answer your questions. So if you're feeling inspired, I know you will, you've got the courage and you don't mind being recorded video, then please, to the microphone. Hi. Keep talking and she'll adjust as you talk.
Okay. So, is it possible to be really busy and be happy at the same time? And also, I know a person who's extremely busy, but he's also very spiritual. And he will meditate, say, an hour a day, which I think is pretty good. But the whole rest of the time, he's extremely busy. So in my mind, it's like he's running from something, but his justification is, no, but I meditate for an hour every day.
Could you all
What is
hear?
the question?
What was the question? Is it possible to be
Closer to the
Is
microphone.
it possible for him to be that busy for most of the day, for most of the 24 hours of that day, and be happy because he uses that meditation for an hour?
Well, it is possible for anyone to be anything at all. And most of the happy people you will find are not sitting around on cushions because they're getting consistent inspiration from having that level of joy that will put them into aligned action. So they are not correlated. It's not that busyness in and of itself is a problem. That is not the case. It is a problem if the person is not feeling in the frequency or they are feeling consistently stressed, etc. More importantly, it is also not in one's frame to be able to truly understand someone else's experience. So if you are observing this and saying, is this possible? There is a question in it for you as well. In other words, there is an idea that perhaps on your side of things that the doing too much could be detrimental or a problem. Does that belief serve you?
I think I have some guilt about it, because I find, for me, I don't have enough purpose in my life. And I think I'm trying to justify him, say, no, you're doing too much, because I'm a little bit envious of how much he's accomplished and how much he can accomplish in a day, where I'm not doing that. So I do definitely feel like I make it about myself, where I'm trying to justify, well, I just meditate more, and, you know, I have just as much purpose as you do. So I guess I'm just trying to justify me not being quote unquote as purposeful as he is and all that he does.
Yes, so this is quite a good level of clarity for you. And in this, that is correct for you to look at in terms of why or how can you be more loving with yourself in terms of what it is you're doing. There's no more value in someone who is productive over someone that is not. So actually, it is possible that you both have the same belief that that's productiveness is what is going to save you or eventually make you happy, where your systems are built so that in his system, he's able to take that limiting belief and pour it into activity, and that is how he is satisfying his discomfort. And in your case, you are satisfying it by, or you had less of that sort of impetus to do things and are satisfying it through the analyzing of someone else's journey. There's really no need to analyze someone else's journey. You do have quite a lot of clarity about this, and so we would say it is safe for you to relax. It is safe for you to meditate as much as you feel to meditate during the day. If you can, take the energy that you have been putting into focusing on someone else's journey, and this is for all of you, not for this particular case specifically, but if you can take the energy that you have been in worrying about or focusing on someone else's journey and reinvest it in your own, then not only will you be happier, but you will then be an example to anyone else who would like to take that example on board.
Okay, great, thank you so much.
We thank you. Hello.
Get closest to the microphone, very close.
Right height. You have mentioned quite frequently today about joy, and also the great sages and masters through history, and that within their teachings are written those prescripts. But if we look at the lives of Jesus, Buddha, Zoroaster, Plato, even in our lifetimes, someone like the Dalai Lama or Mother Teresa, if you carry that light, either you are drawn to or what is attracted to you is often people in a level of intense suffering. Jesus among the lepers and Buddha among the starving, and on and on. So my question is, did they take upon themselves also transmuting that suffering of the other person and giving them of their light? And also, how did they not take it within themselves through empathy and compassion? Take that pain and maintain their joy, or bring themselves back to that state of joy.
Yes, so it is very much like the analogy of a lighthouse. If there is a light on a ship, and the lighthouse is on the shore, and it is shining its light, illuminating where the dangers might be or whatnot, it is not as if when those who are on the ship see the light, that the light is absorbed by them and diminished on the lighthouse, as if there was not an infinite resource of that light from as long as that flame is lit. So these characters that you speak of have made the choice to stand in the light no matter what. This is that unconditional love we spoke of. And so even in the face of suffering, even in the face of others who suffer, and also this is what we spoke of when we said that at times it can even seem like those who are standing in the light do not have compassion, because they do not flinch at the lepers. They do not flinch at the starving. They simply continue to shine their light. And in doing so, they are guiding others towards their own. So in the same way a candle can light another candle, there is no reason why a spent candle can extinguish a lit one. It just cannot happen. It is simply a case of you deciding you are a lighthouse or deciding you are a candle, and not anything that can be impacted by anything external. It is normal for those of you who are shining your light, and this is one of the fears that all of you have, and it is why also in part you do not step into your roles. is that you will indeed attract those who are in need of what you have to offer. And that can be a fearful space before you understand that you are inextinguishable.
Yes.
But you are indeed inextinguishable. If you shine your light, it does not diminish the same way the sun shines the same on every single blade of grass. Yes, there are shadows because that is what the grass is casting. But it does not mean that the sun did not shine into that space as well. It simply means that something is blocking it in that area, and in some other moment of the day, that part will be in light and the other part will be in shadow. We thank you.
Carly, the sound over there, are we in touch with the hotel? Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ooh, it's getting warm in here, isn't it?
Feels good.
Okay, I have 4 pages of questions, but I will pick, this is kind of a two-parter. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
From your perspective, what is the biggest misconception humans have about their own power, and how would you rewrite that belief in the simplest form? And the second part is, what is the one belief that, if shifted, would have the most immediate impact on humanity's evolution?
So to the first question, the answer is that you are limited in your power. You are not. Now, you do have a game that you want to play, but that does not mean that you are limited, not even by the game itself. So if at any point in time you did decide you wanted to rearrange even the rules of the game, you could indeed do so, because you are consciousness. You are consciousness not only in matter form, but consciousness itself. Therefore, everything that is because you are. This limitlessness is non-conditional, but you have chosen to limit yourself with your power into certain rules and regulations so as to play the game that you are playing. Which again, comes back to why it is so precious. It is so wonderful to be playing this exact game because it is the game that you are wanting to play. The second question of what belief could you shift that would change humanity entirely? It is the belief that you are not lovable. Both by yourself and by other selves. This is one of the greatest errors in existence, and it is so blatantly obvious that it is an error. Because why would existence create anything that was not meant to exist? How arrogant of you to think that you are the exception to the rule. If each and every one of you actually had the esteem for yourself that existence has for you and has had for you all along, you would comport yourself completely differently. You would act from that space of knowingness of your value, and in your choice, moment to moment, to act from that value, you would automatically benefit each and every being you came in contact with.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
My question is about memory and conscious memory versus subconscious memory. And I'm wondering if there's a reason why certain experiences that we've had as children, or even dream experiences, we have them in the moment and then we no longer remember them. And so this is specific to maybe mystical experiences I had as a child, or even when I sleep at night, it feels like I'm living a different life, and I wake up exhausted. So I'm trying to think, why do we put certain memories into our subconscious so that we can't access them all the time consciously?
Okay, thank you. Memory is a functionality of the brain. Every functionality of the brain is an aspect of the physical form, or the keeping you here in life, reality. As you come to a space of being more in alignment with yourself, you will find, or even worry yourself about the fact that your memory is getting worse and worse. Because memory ultimately is for you to have recall of things that you do not believe yourself to have learned enough from yet.
Ooh.
So that memory that you have of the bad thing that happened to you as a child is imprinted because you believe that holding on to that memory will prevent that harm again.
Ooh.
The memories that you have that are pleasant in nature are there to attract you to that thing again, as if you weren't attracted to that thing in the first place. And you said that the other things are imprinted in your subconscious memory. It does not necessarily work that way. They are simply allowed to be in the complete isness of all that is. So yes, there can be recall that comes up and something that you were not consciously aware to be aware of in the moment in which it is relevant for you, almost as if it is being written for the first time within your brain, but you remember it as something that has already occurred. So this whole question of memory is more a question of what is the functionality of memory, and does it or is it relevant to me any longer? This is also why sometimes when you get to increased age, memory becomes problematic, so to speak, or let go of simply. It is because that being has come to a state in their life where they have decided that they would like to remain in physical form, but that there are certain things, new things, that they would like to experience, such as the existence without or outside of the memory banks. So it is not as if something has gone wrong even in those cases. We do know that this is a sensitive subject, but it is simply people coming to a part of their life in which their memory is no longer needed in the same way, and so they are going to a space where they would like to be a little bit more non-physical while remaining in physical form. With regards to your sleep state, the reason why those memories do not stick is because they are on a need-to-know basis. And you currently are not on a need-to-know basis with those journeys that you are having. You as the human being would be in some ways impacted in what is considered a not as productive way by having access to those memories in a conscious manner. This does occur for all of you who have had also some visitations from your extraterrestrial friends, does it not? It is because in this now moment, in this storyline, there is not quite yet the need to know exactly what is going on, and what is needed to happen is what we shared earlier. You need to be getting your ducks in that row. As you get your ducks more and more in a row, you will find that your day-to-day memories, such as where you left your car keys, make some systems for that, by the way, become harder to access, whereas your journeys into other dimensions are far more real to you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
We thank you.
First of all, so much gratitude for both of you for putting this on today. It's
Thank you, Joel.
so much appreciated. So much enlightenment. So I wanted to elaborate on Mike's question earlier about surrendering versus taking action and the balance and three-dimensional reality. You know, we have to pay the bills, we have to do the work, we have to do our business, but yet we want to be happy, and I'd love to meditate for 3 hours and read your books for the rest of the day and not do anything else. So how do we balance this 3D reality versus my pure joy of just learning and growing and reading and doing the other things I like to do, but not necessarily paying the bills?
Yes, so when you focus on your happiness first, much of your action becomes aligned action anyway, because you do not want to pay the bills, because you are in an understanding that paying the bills does bring very joyful things to you, does it not? In other words, you have comfort, you have relative safety, you have your health, you have other things that occur to you because you are in an interaction with whatever work it is that you are doing for those quote bills to be paid. It is the framing of it. So as you come into your joy, you then become more astute at understanding that then when you are going to work, first of all, there are ways to make any job more pleasant. There are games you can play with yourself. There are focuses that you can put your mind on in any environment in which it becomes fun to do that thing. But if you are coming to a space of, I would rather be doing something else, then you are always going to feel a little bit of a sting of that annoyance. If instead you can find a way to, yes, indeed balance how much time you are spending on the things that are joyful to you, and then find a way to make the time that you are not doing those things the practice of that learning or those teachings, then that can be very exciting as well, because human beings do always like to challenge themselves, test themselves, and be in a space of applying their learning, not only having the learning moments. You do not need to necessarily meditate for 3 hours a day, but you can indeed find ways to make whatever it is you are doing during the day in more of a meditative state, or in a way that feels to you to be more meditative than you have been framing it in this now moment. And if you can see, and we are glad that you started with gratitude, but if you can see that you have deep desire to be in a space where there's money coming to you, or in a space where you are able to pay the bills, then that can become something that is joyful to you as well. We will also say that many of you are trying to pay far more bills than you need to be paying.
Yes.
You have gotten yourself into small traps by believing you need more than you actually do. And as you sell that extra bedroom, or you get yourself into smaller spaces, you might find, hey, turns out I don't like cleaning for 4 hours on the weekend, and 2 hours is fine in this half the size apartment. So there are many ways to rearrange your life so that your life is working for you and you are no longer working for it. You are the boss. So if today things are out of alignment, it is because you have chosen for them to come into a space where you are wanting to learn how to realign yourself.
Thank you so much.
We thank you.
Hello,
Hello.
Hi.
this is just for me. I've had like 3 romance in my life. I'm now 75 years old. I don't think it's over, and I'm kind of looking, what can I do to bring it closer to me? Romance. Love.
Yes. So be a romantic. Often when romance is elusive or is perhaps not in the space that one wants it to be in, there is a guarding because you have been hurt in the past, or there is a guarding because your heart is precious and you do not want to be hurt. Often there is a trust of others that is perhaps wavered, betrayal that has occurred, heartbreak, loss. And so if you can bring yourself back to a state of being in love with yourself, in love with your experience, take yourself out on dates even, and be in a space where you do not actually need to even trust the other person because you trust your judgment of them or your discernment of them, then you can begin to become a romantic. You can begin to become someone who is so brave in the face of their attraction to another self that they declare it forthright for the other self. And then guess what? If it doesn't stick, then the spaghetti is not ready. So you are allowed to be romantic. You are allowed to declare your love for people. What's the worst that can happen? They say no thank you, and then you say great, on to the next one. I can fall in love with anyone at any given point in time. And I have enough discernment to know that from whatever experiences I've had in my past, I've learned from them. You are correct in saying it is not over, because love is eternal and it can be for any space or time. Allow yourself to woo yourself.
Yes.
Allow yourself to, every morning when you get up, prepare yourself as if you are going on a date with you, because you are indeed doing so.
Come on.
Allow yourself to pour that extra glass of bubbly. Allow yourself to give yourself a massage. Be the person that you would like to be, because you are indeed in training on how to love them as well. So if you can't, and we know that some of you cannot, come into a space where you are taking care of yourself to such an exquisite fashion that you would be dating yourself, then think of it as a training program. Think of it as, when this beautiful character comes into my life, I want to be ready for them. Therefore, I have to learn how to love someone. Oh, there's no one else here but me. I guess I'm the guinea pig. Allow yourself to be the guinea pig of the love and your affections, and it automatically attracts more and more partners, potential partners to you.
Thank you.
We thank you.
I have 2 questions, and I think they might be easy. But the first one is, one of our universal truths is that everything is always working out for us for the benefit of us. Does that include death?
Yes.
Okay, that was easy.
There's nothing wrong with death if there's anything wrong with life. You see, you were dead before you were born. You've been there, done that.
Thank you. And the next question is about the nature of channeling. It's fascinating to me, and I'm not understanding, though, we're all one collective consciousness. Is that correct?
Yes?
We're all one.
Yes?
But there are personalities that we humans channel. Jesse is channeling Vagrein. Abraham was channeled by
Esther.
Esther. Now, is it that the channelers are just more in tune with that realm? Does Abraham speak to other people? Does Abraham speak to Jesse? And there seems to be personalities too.
What is your name?
Mary.
Mary is channeling Mary.
Oh.
So, to the question, these beings that you call channelers are simply changing the channel.
Woo!
It is, yes, an ability that is related to physical predisposition, to that being's life path or journey, the story that they are creating, the story that you are creating by bumping into them. And they happen to have slightly more, it's not even that much more, ability to change the channel. The majority of you wake up every day as yourselves and go about your day as yourselves. But it is not as if there is actually a connection between your personality and your body, or a connection between your soul and your body, outside of the fact that your body is your soul, that your personality is your soul, and that soul is the collective consciousness. It simply makes decisions to experience this particular flavor of that collective consciousness. The way it is filtered through or into a unique experience. So, channeling in and of itself is no different than being human. It is simply that what occurs in the case of the channels that you mentioned is that they are allowing that other personality, as you called it, of the universal consciousness to, for temporary, or even there are cases in which someone changes their personality entirely, permanent, moments, to have that come through for whatever reason. There are many different reasons to do so. And your artists are doing it when they're putting their brushes to canvas. Your musicians are doing it when they're composing songs that are beautiful and otherworldly. Perhaps they take credit for them, yes, but if you speak to anyone and they're being authentic with you, they will say they do not know where it came from exactly.
It just comes.
Your scientists and inventors are doing it when they pluck a new idea out of nothing. You are doing it on a day-to-day basis when you are allowing yourself to open up to more of that infinite perspective, and you have a sudden inspiration to call your friend. All of these things are simultaneously connected with you and also have nothing to do with you. And in the case of channels, there's simply a ability, perhaps in the brain and the DNA of that character, to organize information in a specific way so as to be able to transmit that particular bandwidth frequency of that information in either physical or written form.
These messages all have almost the same idea to work towards, or just to feel good, to be good, to do the best you can. But what about people that, are they channeling some, I'm gonna call it negative, but negative energy? You know, I mean, where these thoughts come from?
The negative energy? Is that what you were asking of?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, so if you are a radio and have a dial, you can dial to different frequencies. It can occur, and this is why we say do not take anything that is channeled at face value. You must check in with your own resonance, because none of it is higher than you. It is all simply frequency that is being accessed. You do have access to the frequency. On top of that, you do have access to a litmus test as to whether or not this frequency is serving you or not. So those what you perceive of as negative energies that are channeled through beings are indeed simply a channel or an information frequency that is not serving you.
Okay, thank you.
We thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much for sharing your gifts and insights. Truly appreciate that. My question is, you spoke earlier today about being able to go with the flow. How do you maintain that position of being able to go with the flow? Because sometimes it just kind of abruptly stops, or we put a break on it. So what insights or techniques or tips would you give for maintaining that flow?
Yes, so the flow is always going. It is indeed more you that decides not to go with it for whatever situation or circumstance. We would say that what we have noticed when we have spoken on this with others is that the practical tip for you in this is that when the flow stops going, go with the flow of your flow stopping going. So when you get hit by that low frequency vibration and you are feeling down and out, don't resist that either. Allow that to be the new thing that you are adhering to and paying attention to and allowing to communicate with you. Because if it has arrived, it is because it is meant to arrive in that moment. And any resistance towards it or beating up of yourself as, oh, I've lost the frequency vibration that I was on, the most beneficial to me, and now I'm down in the doldrums, and now I'm going to feel bad about myself for a week because I did not maintain my good flying state, is not actually serving you at all. You do have things in your systems, not things in your systems, but you do have energy that wants to be heard. This can be archaic from your childhood, it can be collective, it can be something that is happening, a premonition, or things that are coming up for you. It can be that you just had the most wonderful time ever, and you are processing the fact that up until that moment you hadn't had wonderful times. That is a mourning period as well. So when your flow stops going, you have not lost the flow. Your flow has gone to a place where you do not think it's flow anymore. But it is. It always is. So gentleness, whenever you are feeling some sort of emotion or some sort of blockage, is the first step to unlocking it and getting yourself a little bit dirty. We have used the analogy quite frequently of recent of a pond that would be attached to a river if only you could get the debris out of the bottleneck before it continues to flow. To get that debris out, it does not matter how much water you put in the basin. What you need to do is get your arms a little bit dirty. Get that muck and gunk and twigs and leaves out of that point where the river would continue. And doing so might take a little bit of effort. It might take a little bit of acknowledgement of what has blocked that up. And then allowing yourself with gentleness and the patience and time that you need to allow yourself to get rid of that gunk.
Thank you very much.
We thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I also appreciate and thank y'all for putting this event on and giving us who are new to this the courage to ask a question and not say, this is a silly question.
No.
My question is, can, rather than a thought or a process similar as you are demonstrating today, I was sharing with my new brother Patrick earlier, that for many months and years now, coming from my Baptist background, I had a desire to bring physical healing to those that I encountered. My question is, instead of channeling thoughts and expressing them as you are, can an individual or an entity channel something just as healing? And specifically, my sister-in-law is in an advanced state of Alzheimer's. She is relatively young. Her mind is not capable of asking for help and relief from that. Is that something that I can be a part of, bringing that healing to her without her knowledge? Be a channeling that.
So yes, healing is possible. We do not like the word healing because nothing is ever wrong. And one can impact other selves that are in their soul contract to do so. So
We are not discouraging any of you, if it is your passion or desire, to undertake healing modalities, to be whatever level of healer you would like to be. But coming from a space of nothing is wrong is really the only way to be an effective healer. Right now, you have much desire for relief for this being. You have much desire for their well-being. All of these are beautiful desires to hold, and they are guiding you. However, you also have great pain around it. So, you do have a lot of power. Because right now, the most effective healing to do around this subject is of yourself. The fears you have around it, the perception you have that something has gone wrong, the projection that you have about this and what it means for your family, for yourself, for the future, for your own mortality, for your own experience in existence. And in doing that work for yourself, which is where, in this now moment, your greatest power lies, you will automatically come to a space of more peace and then become more effective in your ability to support this person on the journey that they are on. They are on a journey that they, from their highest self, have chosen to be a benefit to themselves, to everyone around them, including you. If you can realize that this person is helping you as much as you are wanting to help them, you can have a great and profound impact on them, but more so, break through some of the things that you could not have done otherwise.
So,
Great
So
answers.
the bottom line is that the healing needs to start with me first.
Yes.
Yes.
And it always does.
Thank you, thank you.
So on this thing called nature of time and multidimensionality, there's two parts. If time is an illusion and all moments exist simultaneously, how can we collapse time and step into our highest timeline most effectively? Second part, can we download knowledge, skills, or even healing from our parallel versions of ourselves?
Yes.
So, to the first question, you are always collapsing realities into your perfect timeline. There's no way to not be in your conscious awareness on your perfect timeline, even if we have spoken as everything is occurring simultaneously all at once. Every version of you is on its perfect timeline. This is how the universe expands or evolves or comes to a space of covering all the bases, so to speak. You can, in this timeline, choose for this timeline to be very malleable and therefore have your preferences be realized more frequently, have the things that you are desiring to occur in your life occur and manifest more frequently. But you are never, ever, 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 ever getting off the correct timeline.
Ever.
To the second question, which you will have to repeat.
Sure. So can we download knowledge, skills, or even healing from our parallel versions of ourselves?
Yes. Your imaginations are wonderful. You can access everything, not only from yourselves, but from anyone. It really is like that scene in The Matrix. And you could do this on the one condition that within this timeline, you choose for that to be a reality. So, you can experiment with this. This is another one of those practical tools. Go ahead and play with these things actively as if they were real, and you will find that you will have evidence that they are.
Okay, so from a practical point of view, I'm gonna go to sleep tonight, and I would like to wake up in a different body, or a different version of my body. My mind tells me that is impossible, and therefore, when I wake up tomorrow, it will likely be impossible. How do we engage those limiting beliefs in a way that eliminate that so that we can step into that reality?
Well, here you have a problem.
Okay.
Because you have some reason to want to wake up in another body?
Maybe. maybe. I've been trained by society to tell me that I should.
No.
Well, here's the fundamental problem that your soul also is telling you. So we are not telling you anything you do not already know. You have more desire to let go of that limiting belief than you do to let go of the other one. And you are not able to let go of that one up until such point as you let go of it. If you were to be able to bend reality in the way that is possible, you would bend it. But then evermore you would have that limiting belief. So you would come to your new reality with a different body, and you will hold on to the belief that you were not worthy in the body that you had before.
Ooh.
There you go.
Thank you.
We think.
That was really good, thank you. I've had the pleasure of spending many years being able to help people work through, what looks like a healing. And I've been able to have the experience in more recent years of being able to feel more connected to a higher self and to even people that have crossed over through earth medicines. And I'm curious if earth medicines and the wise use, with integrity, whether you're taking earth medicines like psilocybin or ayahuasca or iboga, if that is, when used in integrity, whether you're guiding or using, is that part of the evolution of our time here as Westerners? It's been used for generations, and it feels to me like this opening of possibility in a different way. And there is kind of a reboot or rewiring. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
So everything that is on offer on the table is up for grabs. Whatever you have in your experience is and can be used for your creative tool. These are your paintbrushes, your toolkit. This is not outside of any subject, any topic at all. So these medicines or these substances, whatever you would like to call them, are available to you, as they has rightly said, for many generations, for the uses that you would like to bring them through with. Are they a key or a route to your evolution? Not necessarily, because you are many on this planet, and the many of you will all find their own different routes to that evolution throughout their lives. So back to our friend who plays the tuba, that is their plant medicine, so to speak. And this question gets asked to us frequently because there is some level of collective residue or debris about not being allowed to have altered states of consciousness, or aided or influenced altered states of consciousness. And you are working through that as a collective as well. The ability to autonomously choose what you are experiencing and not experiencing is something that is coming to you for your sovereignty, because some of these items have been restricted for some time by those who would not want you to have access to those altered states of consciousness. So allow yourself to come to a space of knowing that the truth that you feel within your own self about anything is accurate for you, and spend a little bit less energy worrying about whether or not it is completely accurate for the collective. If that is the case, it will play out in time.
Thank you.
We thank you.
Okay, we're near our break time, but let's try to get both of your questions
Yes.
answered.
Thank you. I wasn't going to ask anything, but your question about Alzheimer's brought something up for me about not really soul contracts, but I believe with my whole being that everything is always unfolding for your highest good. However, my mother fought cancer 3 times, and she never did any of the things physically that would cause cancer. And at the end of her life, she told me this sucks because there's so much more that I still want to do. And I have heard from her since she crossed over, and she explained to me, I haven't gone anywhere. My body wore out, so I left it. sometimes can your soul make a decision like this lifetime I'm going to learn something hard like cancer and having to depend on other people or something like that, but your consciousness doesn't recognize that you made that choice? You know, how do you reconcile that someone doesn't want to pass away and they do when everything is unfolding for their highest good?
Yes, so anytime you are experiencing something and you do not perceive of it as a good thing, that is exactly what is occurring. You are having a experience of something that is good for you, or good is not the correct term, but that is for your evolution, and you have not recognized it on your conscious level yet. These are always opportunities. You see, there is no winning. Even in the subject that you brought up of cancer, you did say she battled it 3 times. She did not win the first time by not dying from it. True. So what occurs, and not even had she never had it again, you only win when you can see the benefit or the beauty, beauty is probably the better word here, the beauty of the being alive through the thing. So it is not the case that someone does not want to die. Yes, perhaps on a conscious level, but that is not how the universe sees it. The universe instead sees it as exactly as she has spoken to you now. Nothing has happened. That physical vessel is not necessary anymore. The same way your spiders shed their exoskeletons. They are growing. There are spiders. The vessel saw a video of a spider who was mourning its own exoskeleton. It was very sad. It thought that its friend had died. So you tend to do that because you forget that you are immortal. You forget that you are eternal. You forget that the body simply is that manifestation that you've decided to have for a time being. And yes, it is painful to watch your loved ones go through something difficult, suffer, have experiences that you would not wish on anyone. But nothing has gone awry. And that is the real key to life. To remember in all moments that nothing has gone wrong. It is only you that can perceive of things that have gone wrong. So if you face challenges, and that is what the theme of this is in this day, as fast as you can get to good news, the less suffering there will always be. Something is coming that is good from this thing. Now, you did start this question with soul contracts. And you are correct that when someone does have an illness that impacts those around them, it is as much theirs as it is the experience of watching them is to the others. It is part for you to have your learning as well. And the grandest example of this is when someone loses a child. Or a baby comes into the world and they have severe disability and they are only here for a short while. People always say, well, what did they do? And you actually said in your question that she didn't do anything wrong to deserve cancer. Therein lies an extremely limiting belief, does it not? Does that belief not terrify you to hold that you could do something wrong and be punished for it?
Oh.
So the baby that comes in did not come in only for itself and its learning, because you would say, well, why would they only be here for 3 days and then go? What could they have possibly learned in that short arc? They have come in for the doctors to decide to do more research. They've come in for the parents to love so briefly but so passionately that they would never have had that experience otherwise. They've come in to impact everyone that knew the parents, giving more compassion, more love, or more conflict, more dissociation. You see, it is all intertwined. Yes. And it is intertwined in order to reveal in each and every one of you the things that no longer serve you. We have evidenced for you a belief that is no longer for you. Thank you. We thank you.
I'm going to steer the bus towards the mothership.
Right.
What role do the tall blue aliens have in the Great Awakening?
Hello.
Well, it really is very much like a business or organization. That particular species does have some managerial roles. And if we were to outline this is the interesting thing about you humans with this topic, is that you have no idea how boring it truly is. You are so fascinated with the structure of how things are getting on that you do not realize that there are the equivalent of spreadsheets also on that end. The beings you are talking about are often involved in a lot of paperwork. That said, there is an element of ability and skill in them that is directly related to communicating with you, those of you who do not know you're being communicated with, technological advancements, etc. Why would you like to know specifically?
Blue aliens has been a very thing that keeps showing up in my life since about 1977.
Wow.
So what is the real question as regards to you?
Is it possible to have a non-human soul?
So your soul is non-human. Your physical vessel is human. Your brain is human. Your soul is collective consciousness or universal consciousness that has been individuated into your experiencing. You are wanting to know if you are simultaneously as well connected with these beings. You are. And you are wanting to know if there is some element of your individuation that is more related to them. There is.
Thank you for the confirmation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, what an amazing session. I have one question I feel very compelled to ask. You can have a short answer, and then we'll take our afternoon break. You used some phraseology which I interpreted or felt was a little bit ominous. You said that we are pretty much at a point now where there is no alternative but to pursue a life of joy. I believe that was the phraseology. Well, as it being perceived as ominous, that could stir some fear in others, maybe, and myself. And I know that fear has been a great motivator in my life, so I'm not afraid to ask if there's no alternative. Is that unique to this juncture of time and space, that there's no alternative? Or is that basically a blanket statement to incarnating into these illusions? You either find joy or you're out of the game.
Bum, bum, bum. So, yes, no. In other words, it has always been the case that if you are not joyful, you are not joyful. The alternative to joy is not being joyful, and that is not the preference that the majority of you have. This time and space, what you perceive of as suffering, if you do not make this choice, will be greater than it has been. This is because you have called in catalysts that is pushing you in this direction more fully. So, you make the decision now, or you make it later. Either way, yes, perhaps if that fear is a motivator, you will be motivated. Because the choice now is, be happy, or allow yourself to be swept up with this deliberate, because it is deliberate. It's deliberate because you have called it in to be deliberate. Motivation towards unhappiness. You are being pulled and pushed further into fear. You are being pulled and pushed further into ideas that everybody is out to get you. And that is going to feel worse and worse. So the gap between your experience and your happiness is going to get greater. Master your happiness while you can,
as you can, because you can, and that gap becomes non-existent. Because even when people are offering you fear on a platter, you will say, no, thank you very much, I'm already full.
Very, very good. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. It is 3:28.